Right, hello everyone. So I'm going to do a quick video on the kings and more importantly check, stalemate and checkmate, because I know some of you are getting a bit frustrated that you seem to be winning a game and then it accidentally turns out to be a draw because it's stalemate, which is a draw. So let's go through it. I will quickly recap how the kings can move. So if you want to just skip a couple of minutes, you obviously can, but it won't hurt to just listen through. So here we go. Let's start the PowerPoint. So king's obviously the most important piece on the board. If you can capture the enemy king, you win. If yours is lost, then so is the game. At the end of the game, he actually, when there's not many pieces left, he actually becomes quite a strong fighting piece because he's unlikely to get caught and checkmated in the middle of the board. It's about as strong as a bishop or a knight. But early in the game, you really should be learning to castle, almost always, 99% of the time, to hide your king in the corner. So let's see what's occurring. So at the start of the game, white king's on e1, black king e8, always on the opposite colour square. So a white king starts on a black square. There's also a special move called castling, as I say, you all need to do, but I'll do that in a later video. It's a special move just for the king. So let's see what's occurring here. Kings can move one square in any direction, so the white king can go to c2, that's fine. e2 is fine. e3 is fine. He can't go to c4, he can't take his own soldier. But he cannot go to d2, d4 or e4, and they'd be illegal moves. If he goes to d4 or e4, this black rook can take him. If he goes to d2, this black pawn can take him, and that's an illegal move. You can't deliberately put your king into check, and you can't leave your king in check when he's attacked. The good news is if you do that, your opponent isn't allowed to claim the game. What they have to do is just point out that you've made an illegal move and you have to play something else instead. The black king here, he can go to a8, c8, c6. He can't take his own men on a7 and b6, obviously, and he can capture the knight on a6, fine. But he can't go to b8 and c7 because the white knight is attacking those squares. And again, you can't deliberately put your own king into attack. Okay, so here's a situation where black is about to, it should be winning the game. I forgot to put a black king on the board, but it doesn't matter. It's, for the sake of example, it's fine. So he's going to play queen takes b4. He's going to play queen takes the pawn, and that's fine. And now we have to work out what's going on. It is a check because that queen is now attacking the white king. But is it checkmate? Well, can he go to c1? No, because the bishop is covering that square. Can he go to c2? No, because the knight's covering c2. Can he go to a1? Absolutely fine. And the same can be said of a2 because there's no pieces covering that square. So it's only check because there is an escape for the white king. It should be pretty obvious, by the way, why he can't go to b2, but the queen would still be attacking that square. Fine. So we've got a situation here where if white doesn't win quickly, this black pawn will go to a1 and become a queen, and that would win the game for black. So what white has to do is move the rook to h4. And what you'll see now is that's check. It's attacking the black king. See the green dots. And this rook is covering all the squares on the G file. So is it checkmate? It looks like it might be. Well, not quite, because black can put his rook in the way. But it only delays the inevitable because, of course, the white rook that's now here will take the black rook that's there. And we've got this checkmate pattern, the two rooks holding the two lines, and there's no way for the black king to escape. So we have to understand check and checkmate because checkmate wins. It's the end of the game. So what we're going to do is have a look at some typical mating nets. That's what they're called in the books. Checkmate nets. Typical positions that come up time and time and time again. One or two of these positions, there might be an escape route. So as I put each one out, press pause and see if you can work out if there's an escape method or if it's actually checkmate. So here's the first one. The queen on b7 is attacking the white king. And it is a checkmate because the queen is covering a7, b8, and obviously its own square. The white king cannot take the queen because the black king would take him back. Okay, so the white king can't put itself in danger. There's no escape route. That is a checkmate. This one, we've got a rook. Oops. Don't know if you saw that. I just accidentally put something on the screen on Zoom, but hopefully it didn't come up for you guys. The rook on c8 is attacking the black king on f8. e7, f7, and g7 are covered by the white king. So it looks bad, but it's not checkmate because the black bishop can go back to e8. Now, actually, it doesn't do white a whole lot of good. The move king e6 will force black to lose his bishop, but I'll let you guys work out why that would be. But at least it's not checkmate straight away. Now, this one here, we've got a queen defended by the bishop on that diagonal, attacking the black king. Is it checkmate? Not this time, because although the black king can't take the queen, because he'd lose, he'd be captured himself, that's illegal, and he can't go to f8 and h8 because the queen is covering those squares, he does have knight takes queen, knight takes g7, and that would win in the game because then he'd be a queen up. Now this position, we've got the black rook attacking the king. It is a checkmate because there's no way for the king to escape. There's nothing that can take the rook. There's nothing that can be put in the way. And the king can't capture any of his own pieces. Obviously, he's blocked in by his own men. So that's called a back rank mate. And it comes up quite a lot in chess. And so occasionally, it's not a bad idea just to nudge forward your rook pawn when you've castled just one square. And it will give your king somewhere to escape to. There's a bit of a downside to doing that as well, pushing a pawn forward. It gives, for a really advanced chess, it can become a bit of a target, a way to open up your king's position. But it can be useful sometimes, just to give your king somewhere to escape to. And what about this one? We've got a queen attacking the black king along the 8th rank here. King can't escape because of the pawns. There's nothing that can take the queen. Is it checkmate? Not quite, because of course this time the black queen can swoop right back to f8 and can get in the way, can block the check, so black can save himself. And this one here is an example of the power of two bishops. So although we often say bishops and knights are about equal, actually most of the time a bishop pair, to have both your bishops, will usually be a bit stronger than a bishop and a knight or two knights. Is this one checkmate anyway? The answer is yes, it absolutely is. So the black squared bishop is on b2 attacking along that diagonal, so that's the check. The white squared bishop is covering the g8 square, and the king is covering h7, so there's no escape there for the black king. That one is a checkmate. So stalemate. Now, this is where people get caught out as beginners. So you reach a position in chess where one side is not in check, so there's no attack on the king, but has no legal moves at all. And that's a draw, which seems grossly unfair that you might have all these soldiers left and the enemy's got none at all, and they don't have any moves. But nonetheless, in the rules of chess, it is a draw. It's called a stalemate. And I guess all I can say is you need to practice, because if you lack the skill to get the checkmate right without messing up, then some people might say you deserve not to win. But anyway, let's see some stalemates so we can avoid them, because it's terribly annoying. So in this position, if it's white to move, it's a draw. The king isn't attacked by anything, but he can't go to any of the three squares here because the queen is attacking each of them. If it's black to move, his correct move is to go to b5, queen to b5, because what then that lets happen is the white king can sort of wiggle backwards and forwards between these two squares while the black king comes across for a mating net that is a bit like the one we saw on the previous page in the top corner. This one is very different. Although the black king and queen are in the same place, now white has a pawn. He has a legal move. So it's not stalemate. And what happens is, as white moves his pawn forward, which he has to do because it's the only move he has, black has time to bring the king across to give checkmate. So watch what happens here. Sorry about the phone if you can hear it in the background. There's the white move. There's a black move. White carries on moving the pawn. Black carries on bringing the king across. White has to continue moving his pawn. And now the black queen can go to b7 and give checkmate. And of course, because the king will have appeared on c7, white won't be able to take the queen. This one here is a stalemate if it's white to move, because the rook is guarding g7 and g8, and the white king is guarding h7, so there's no escape for the black king. But actually, white can win this in 3 moves quite simply. He can play rook to f6, which allows the king to go to g8. White will then play his king to g6. The only legal move for black is to put the king back to h8. And now the rook from f6 can go to f8. And there he'll be attacking the black king this way. And the white king will still be defending these 2 squares. So it is, I mean, black is done for if it's a white move. But if it's a black move, it's a draw by stalemate. So basically, there's nothing more annoying than drawing a game you should have won. The advice is try to slowly but surely force the king back to the corner or to the edge, but always leave him just that 1 square of wiggle room until the very last moment, so you don't accidentally do the stalemate. So we'll just see a few more common stalemates, and then I will go through some basic checkmates on the computer. So here's a very typical position with beginners. If white is to move here, it's a draw. He can't go to d1 or f1 because of the pawn. He can't go to d2 or f2 because the king obviously will be in danger. So that's a draw if it's white to move. But if it's black to move, he actually wins. And what he does is put his king on d3. The white king then has 1 legal move, which is to go to f2. The black king would then go to d2. Remember, the white king's moved, so he'll be allowed to. The white king then can go to several different squares. It doesn't really make any difference which, f3, g3, g2, g1. But the next black move will be to push the pawn forward to get his queen back. So it really depends here whose move it is. If it's white to move, it's a draw. If it's black to move, black will be able to win. This one, the same applies. The rooks here, you can see them slicing through the position. The black king has no square to move to. If it's a black to move here, this is a draw. But if it's white to move, he can win pretty easily by playing rook to c2. That will allow the king to go to g8, and then rook to c8 gives you a very common checkmate pattern in chess, sometimes called a rook roller, where one rook is attacking along one line and the other rook is stopping the king escaping. So let's just see. Black to move, it's stalemate. White to move, he can win pretty quickly in 2 moves. Similar thing here. If it's black to move, he can't go to a7 because the knight's attacking that square and so is the king. He can't go to b7 because the king's attacking that square. He can't go to b8 because the knight's attacking that square. So if it's black to move, this is stalemate. If it's white to move, he wins easily by promoting the pawn to a queen, and then the queen is attacking along that line with the king defending those 2 squares. If white feels really horrible, he could under-promote here. He could push the pawn and just take a rook instead. It would still be checkmate. But that might be considered a bit showy-offy. But you could still get checkmate by having a rook. Okay, so what I'm going to do is get rid of that. I'm going to stop sharing that screen. And I'm going to share a different one. I'm going to share the board editor from 365 Chess. And I'm going to just set up some positions with basic checkmates just to beat the computer. So we're going to start with a queen and a king and a black king. So the way to do this one is to try to force the black king to the edge of the board. And then bring, when he's only got 1 square left to wiggle backwards and forwards, or 1 or 2 squares to wiggle backwards and forwards, then you bring the king up to help. So I'll play position here. And I'll play against, it doesn't matter really what, I mean, to be honest, I can put it to world champion strength for this exercise. There's nothing black will be able to do. So the first move I'm going to do is queen to d6, and it's created a box. So d7 and d8, and then excuse me, e6, f6, g6, h6. There's this line beyond which the black king cannot pass. Let's start bringing the king up. Should do this in no more than 10 moves. Now, because he's gone back to e8, I'm going to just do this and make the box even smaller. So now, because the queen's guarding these squares that I'm showing, the black king is even more restricted. There's so many ways to do this, but I'll just bring the king towards the black king. Just carry on going towards the black king. And again, same thing here. And same thing here. It doesn't really matter now. E6 or f6 are both good. I'll go to f6. He's only got one move. And now there's four different checkmates here. That's a checkmate. That's a checkmate. That's a checkmate. That's a checkmate. We'll go with that one. Okay, white wins. Let's do another game. So we'll do it this time with the pieces in the middle of the board. So we'll just plonk the black king somewhere in the middle. I'll have my queen there and my king there, whatever, it doesn't really matter. And we'll play the position. And again, just to prove how easy this is, I'll put it up to Grandmaster, professional player level, because there's no way to defend this. So the first thing I'm going to do is create a box. So I'm going to play queen to c5, because that then traps the black king in that small area. Okay, so if he'd gone to f6, I would have brought the king forward. Because he's gone there, I'm just going to make the box even smaller. So you can see this time I've trapped the king within this box here. Let's move my king forward now. Always bring my king towards his. I'm going to go there so that when he moves, he's opposite my king. That's why he didn't want to do that. So now I just do the same. I make the box a bit smaller. That's fine. I just need to put my king opposite his. And now there's one checkmate here, queen to g7. Okay, so he can't obviously take the queen because it's protected. So pretty straightforward to do it with the queen. I'll do it with the single rook as well. So I'll start with the pieces on their start square. So this is easy enough, but takes a bit longer than with the queen. I hope you can hear me over the printer going in the background. It's a bit frustrating. Once again, we'll put it on the top level because I want you guys to see how easy this is. So even against Grandmaster level computer, the first thing we do is use the rook to cut the king off. So now the king cannot move from that back rank. And same pattern, I'm just going to bring my king up towards his. He'll play king b8 now. So he's created a threat. If I forget to move my rook now, he'll take it and be a draw. So all I'm going to do is swing the rook right back over the other side. And he'll probably start moving back towards it. Yeah. So always king up towards the enemy king. And I'm just doing it slightly to one side of him so that he always moves opposite to me. And now, there's a million different ways to do this really, but watch what I'm going to do. I'm going to go here. When I do, he can't play king to f8 because if he does, it allows me to play rook h8 and that's checkmate. So I know what the computer will do now. He'll go to d8. Now I'm going to go here and the same applies. If he puts his king back onto e8, rook h8 checkmate. So I'm basically going to chase him to the corner of the board. Same again. Same again. Same again, but now he's got to go backwards. He's run out of room, and that's checkmate because the rook is attacking across there, and the king is guarding these three squares, a7, b7, c7. So we'll perhaps do another one of those. Let's set up one where the pieces are in the middle of the board this time. So we'll plonk the black king there. Perhaps my rook's there, and maybe my king's here. It doesn't make a lot of difference. Again, we'll put it up to the top level. So this is going to take a bit longer, might be 15, 20 moves. So I probably could play king forwards to be all right, but I'm going to do the usual. So rook to b5, and we've created our box. Oh, he's gone straight backwards. That's good, because if he goes, yeah, that makes life easier. There we go. just making the box smaller. Now he's come across. Okay, so what we do when he comes across is just bring the king up. King c7 probably, yep. King c5 is okay, but I'm going to put the rook back over here. And now how do I force him to go backwards? So the same as we did before, I don't go to d5 because he'll slide out. What I'm going to do is go e5. Now if he play king to e7, I can play rook check, okay, and he'd have to go back to the back row. He wouldn't be able to go here because of my king. That's why he's gone this way. If I play rook check now, he actually ends up escaping, and we end up dancing around the board, which we don't want to do. So I'm now going to just do this. He'll go king b7. Oh, he's come straight back. Okay, he didn't. So that's good, because now I can play that move and it forces him backwards. Absolutely fine. Really doesn't matter where I go now. As long as I leave the rook on this row, the game is over. So I just wonder what's the quickest way to do it, really. I'm going to go to e6, straight opposite. He's gone that way. That's absolutely fine. So now all I need to do is just kill time. So I'm going to do that. Now I can do what we've done before, chase him to the corner of the board. Excuse me. One more time, and we've got this familiar pattern with the rook there and the king guarding these three squares. Okay, so hopefully that should help you guys to stop stalemating people by mistake. Hopefully win a few more games when you're in command at the end of the game. And we will leave that for there. Stop recording. Fantastic. Thank you, everybody.